because Davis has fights that are much more, at this point, much more lucrative. For example, against Lomachenko. That's a much bigger fight.
Yo, it's good everyone. This is Ayo Boxing from Mediba, and we're here to talk about why Gervonta Tank Davis is fighting Vasily Lomachenko next. So as we all know, Gervonta Tank Davis knocked out Frank Martin in the 8th round. It was an entertaining fight, and it lived up to the hype, and it was good seeing Tank back in the ring. It was probably one of his best performances to date. Now everyone's wondering who Tank will fight next. Ryan Garcia was in attendance and was basically begging for a rematch by coming ringside and wearing that shirt. Sean Gibbons suggested in interviews on social media that Pitbull Cruz is the best option for Tank, while Shakur Stevenson tweeted about it and was one of the names many reporters asked Tank about. But the name that stood out the most was Lomachenko. That was the first name brought up in a post-fight interview, and that was the name Tank was most responsive to in the post-fight press conference. And if you recall, Tank expressed interest in fighting Loma after Loma stopped George Kambosos this past May, and I'm 100% confident that Tank will be fighting Loma next because it makes the most sense. And it was pretty much confirmed by Bob Arum as he revealed that they've been in talks and pre-negotiations with the PBC and Team Tank since May.
Well, the truth is we've been talking to the PBC people all along. So we'll absolutely resume conversations next week after this fight, assuming Tank is successful on Saturday. But again, it won't be like the start of negotiations. We've been talking, or Carl Moretti has been talking with Louis DeCubas for a couple of weeks now about that fight. And hopefully we'll put it together expeditiously for sometime in November.
This is a big deal because Bob Arum is not a fan of cross-promotional fights unless it's on his terms, but now he is. Shakur was also brought up as a potential opponent, but was dismissed due to his lackluster performance against Edwin de los Santos.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think at this point in time, Davis and Lomachenko is a bigger fight than Davis and Shakur at this time, particularly after Shakur's last performance, which, I mean, he won very easily, but it was certainly not entertaining. But Shakur will get his opportunity. He's a terrific fighter. I don't know who can beat him, but again, all of these guys are really good. And so there'll be interesting fights down the line.
So based off of those clips, it's clear to me that both parties want to make this fight. Arum will be the B-side promoter for sure, but it makes sense because Tank is the biggest name in American boxing, and this fight's guaranteed to make money for anyone involved. I imagine they'll do a joint Amazon, ESPN broadcast to increase exposure and accessibility. Maybe do a top rank versus PBC undercard, who knows? But the real reason why this fight makes sense is because of legacy. Tank and Loma have a history. Talks of a potential Tank versus Loma fight started in 2017 when Loma was a WBO champion and Tank was the IBF champion. Tank was the most popular young boxer at the time and was promoted by Floyd Mayweather, while Loma was top 3 pound for pound in the world and the hottest name on Top Rank. Discussions surrounding this potential matchup will only intensify in the next 2 years, with both sides going back and forth, dissing each other in interviews. Loma and Arum called out Tank, while Tank and Floyd were dismissive. I wasn't really watching boxing during this time period because I was doing more important shit like partying at college, but based on my research, the reason why this fight never happened then is because Floyd felt Tank wasn't ready for Loma, but also because of boxing politics. It makes sense why Floyd wouldn't want to do business with a rival and put his best young fighter at risk, who was relatively early in his career. However, this is boxing and fans want to see the best fight the best, so I understand the Tank ducked Loma narrative. But the potential matchup discussions died down by 2020, and since then, it hasn't been a mainstream talking point for most fans. But everything has changed in the span of 1 month. Tank is the one calling out Loma, and Loma appears to still want this fight. But much has changed. This fight is way bigger and more lucrative now because Tank has become the face of American boxing, while Loma certified himself as a future Hall of Famer. Both are older, but Tank is seemingly in his peak prime, while Loma is out of his prime, but is still an elite high-level operator. Because of this dynamic, you're going to hear fans say that Tank waited for Loma to get old narrative before and after this fight, and as a Tank fan, this shit will get annoying, but it's a great way to engage the boxing fan base to talk about this fight, and due to this storyline, this will be an easy fight to sell. The question is, can Tank beat Loma? And yes, I'm 100% confident that Tank will knock out Loma. Pressure, aggression, and power is the most effective weapons against Loma. If you can put Loma on the back foot, you can beat him because he's unable to use his feints, angles, and traps effectively, fighting off the back foot. You can see this happen in almost all of his fights, but the vast majority of Loma's opponents are unable to do so for the entire fight. Teofimo Lopez had the most success in doing this, but it was still a close fight at the end. Tank, on the other hand, is different. As seen with Frank Martin, Tank can apply pressure, walk you down, and stay in your face all night. I think he'll do the same thing to Loma, and it's going to be a sad day for a lot of boxing fans watching Loma get knocked out. However, it will even be sadder if Loma somehow pulls off the upset and beats Tank. But who knows, this is boxing, anything can happen. But thank you for tuning in with Ayo Boxing with Madiba. Hit like, subscribe, and more content's coming your way.